Have you ever felt something tugging at your soul in the quiet of the night? A dream that lingers, a name that echoes in your heart, or a silence that feels like someone is standing beside you though no one is there? Some dismiss these as tricks of the mind. But what if they aren't? What if they are holy whispers, fragile signs from souls who can no longer speak, yet still reach out for help? Stay with me, because today we'll uncover 3 hidden signs that a soul may still be in purgatory, and they may be calling to you. She once wrote, "They could not ask with words, but I felt their cry deep in my soul." Diary 20. These moments are not accidents, they may be invitations. And if even one of these signs feels familiar, your prayer could be the only bridge left between that soul and the light of heaven. If right now, as you listen, a name stirs in your heart, don't ignore it. Write it in the comments. Perhaps this is their one chance to be remembered. The first sign is dreams that return again and again silent, persistent dreams that refuse to fade. These are not ordinary fragments of the mind. You wake with a heaviness that won't lift, your spirit unsettled. And in that dream, someone you once loved appears. They don't smile, they don't speak, they only stand, present, watching, waiting. Street Fina wrote of such dreams often. She said souls would come to her not in terror, but in a sorrow so deep it felt sacred. "The soul stood before me in silence," she wrote. "But its sorrow was louder than any cry. I knew it came from purgatory." Diary 20. These dreams aren't sent to frighten you. They are quiet invitations to love. Sometimes God allows a soul to appear, not to alarm, but to beg silently for the prayers they cannot ask for themselves. If you've had such dreams more than once, consider, could this be more than coincidence? Could it be a soul longing for freedom, waiting for you to help? One prayer, spoken with love, may be enough to open a window of light into their darkness forever. The second sign is when a name keeps rising in your heart, unbidden and insistent. You're folding laundry, driving through traffic, attending mass, and suddenly they're at island. A name you haven't heard in years, a person long gone, and yet their memory pushes forward, strong and urgent. Fina described this exact moment. "A soul pressed upon my spirit so strongly, I felt I had to stop and pray. Their name would not leave me." Diary 58. This is not nostalgia. It's not random. It may be the Holy Spirit urging you to stand in the gap for a forgotten soul. Too many in purgatory are left behind, no candles lit, no prayers spoken, no names remembered at the altar. But then, God stirs your heart, and maybe, just maybe, heaven is asking you to respond. When that happens, pause. Whisper their name, offer a Hail Mary, pray in silence, because that small act of grace may be the last thread connecting them to hope. The third sign is the sense of a quiet presence that lingers near. It's not a dream, and it's not a voice. It is simply being there. A stillness, a nearness, the feeling that you are not alone. Street Fina often felt this during adoration. "I sensed a soul beside me," she wrote, "not visible, not frightening, but filled with longing. I couldn't explain it, but I knew I wasn't alone." Diary 35. Have you ever entered an empty church, knelt in prayer, or even sat in your room and felt someone near you not in fear, but in sorrow? Some feel it at the graveside of a loved one, others while holding a rosary in silence. They are not trying to scare you, they are whispering, "Please, don't forget me." If this has happened to you, don't dismiss it. You may be the only one close enough to feel their pain, and your prayer may be the only light they see. Fina didn't just sense their longing. She also witnessed what happens when a soul is finally set free. She described how, in the midst of prayer, sorrow gave way to sudden peace, an overwhelming wave of joy breaking into her heart, unexpected and radiant. Street Fina once wrote, "A soul had been released, and I knew it had come to thank me." Diary 36. She described a vision so radiant it never left her memory. A soul, no longer heavy with sorrow, appeared clothed in light. It looked at her one final time, smiled with a gentleness beyond words, and vanished into glory. It didn't speak, yet in the stillness of her spirit she heard, "Thank you, I'm free." Can you imagine it? That a soul might finally enter heaven not because of a grand ceremony, but because of one whispered prayer, one candle lit in faith, one moment when someone like you chose to love. Fina's witness reminds us that no prayer is ever wasted. Not the hurried ones, not the clumsy ones, not even the single Hail Mary breathed in fatigue. Heaven gathers them all. You may never see the results with your eyes, but heaven sees. And the souls you help, they never forget. So what should you do if you've experienced these signs? If you've had a dream that clings to your heart, or a name that rises unbidden, or a presence that refuses to leave your prayer? Fina believed the answer was simple. Pray. Even the smallest act of love, when offered with faith, carries immense power. She once wrote, "When I can do nothing else, I pray one Hail Mary with my whole heart, and I know God hears it like 1,000. Diary, 87. You don't need to be a mystic. You don't need to know the perfect words. What matters is the love behind the prayer. Offer a Hail Mary, light a candle, whisper the Divine Mercy Chaplet. Attend Mass, and quietly dedicate it for a soul who may have no one else left to pray for them." Fina insisted, "No prayer is ever wasted, even if you never see the result, even if the presence never returns. Because every prayer of love joins in the greatest work of mercy, helping a soul finally find its home. And here is a hidden grace many forget. When you pray for a soul in purgatory, that soul does not forget you." Fina testified, "The soul I prayed for appeared to me later, radiant, grateful, full of peace. I felt it interceding for me before God." Diary 64. Imagine that a soul once forgotten becoming your intercessor in heaven. This is one of the mysteries of God's mercy. Your prayer lifts them into His presence, and in return, they lift you in theirs. Some have shared stories of sudden protection in danger, of illnesses easing, of a peace that arrived in the darkest hour. And sometimes, though unseen behind that grace, is a soul you once prayed for, now standing before the throne of God, whispering your name with gratitude. Nothing in God's plan is wasted. Not your sorrow, not your tears, not your hidden prayers. When you pray for them, they pray for you. And in that silent exchange of mercy, a bridge is built between your heart and heaven itself. Fina once described the pain of a soul who had waited over 40 years forgotten, unheard, unseen. "I felt their pain as if it were my own," she wrote. The soul had been in purgatory for decades. No one prayed, no one remembered, until now. Diary, 123. This is why silence is not an option. Some souls are utterly forgotten names, buried in dusty books, photos tucked away in old boxes, stories ending in silence. But God remembers. And sometimes He stirs your heart not just to feel sadness, but to act. To be the one who carries the forgotten in prayer. Fina called this a sacred burden, not a duty born of fear, but an act of love. Because one whispered, Hail Mary, one quiet Mass intention, can shine eternal light for someone who has waited far too long. So don't wait, don't doubt, don't dismiss it. If a soul is calling, let your prayer be the answer. You've heard the signs. Perhaps you've even felt them yourself. A dream, a name, a presence that wouldn't leave. These are not coincidences, they are callings. Invitations from heaven to take part in something eternal. For Fina, praying for the dead was never just a devotion. It was a mission, a hidden act of love that carries eternal consequences. And in the next part, we'll see how this mission, quiet, unseen, but powerful, can transform not only their eternity, but also your own journey of faith. So, what happens now? Now you remember. You pause, speak their name aloud, even if no one else is listening. You whisper a prayer in the quiet of your heart. You light a candle and let its flame rise like hope into the darkness. You offer a Mass intention, small in effort but infinite in grace. And perhaps most of all, you choose not to turn away. Because one day, when your own journey into eternity begins, imagine this: a soul rushing toward you, radiant with joy, their face shining with gratitude. And with a smile that words could never capture, they whisper, "You prayed for me. When no one else remembered, you did." In that moment, the hidden acts of love you offered here, prayers that felt small, unnoticed, unseen, will blaze brighter than you ever dreamed. They will be jewels of mercy carried into eternity. So today, take a step. Write a name in the comments, if someone is on your heart. Light a small flame for someone forgotten. Whisper a Hail Mary for a soul who may be waiting in silence. These gestures may seem ordinary, but in heaven's eyes, they carry eternal weight. And if this message stirred something within you, stay with us on this path. Reflect, pray, share, or subscribe, not out of obligation, but as part of this quiet mission of love. Because the journey doesn't end here. It begins with you, right now, in this moment.